Artur BETERBIEV defeats Dmitry BIVOL by majority decision to claim all the belts and the undisputed light heavyweight title. Now, many people are crying robbery as of Sunday, but I have to completely disagree. And then I also didn't get my prediction correct. I said I thought Artur BETERBIEV would KO Dmitry BIVOL in the later rounds, and that didn't turn out to be true. However, I have to completely disagree with everyone who says that Dmitry BIVOL was robbed. In a nutshell, if it's a close fight, it's very difficult to say there was a robbery. And this was indeed a close fight. So whether you see it 6 round as a draw or 7-5, it's still close. When it's 7-5, it probably could swing 7-5 in the other direction. So just to look at the scoring and the rounds in general, let's break the fight into 3 parts. Now, I think we can all agree that Artur BETERBIEV absolutely won the closing rounds. That should be not controversial. I think we can also agree that Dmitry BIVOL won the middle rounds. That should also not be controversial. So the controversy lies in the opening rounds. And I have to say this, I feel that both the American and the UK commentators were incredibly biased in giving those opening rounds to BIVOL during, the little bit of the footage that I could catch. Now, full disclosure, I did not get to watch the fight live. I did watch some bootleg videos of the fight afterwards. Unfortunately, it seems like those videos have since been removed from YouTube, or I just can't find them anymore. But in any case, they were there for at least a few hours after the actual fight was over. So I am basing my post-fight breakdown on somewhat a limited access to actual footage. However, I would like to kind of zone in on the opening rounds, because that's where I feel there's room for debate. Now, here's the thing. I'm not sure why the commentators decided to, just give BIVOL all this praise for those opening rounds and actually give him... I don't remember who it was, but one of the, I think, American commentators gave BIVOL like at least all 4 or 5 of the first rounds. But I have to disagree, because here's the thing. You're supposed to score a round based on who lands the more effective punches. That's the key word there, effective. Now, BIVOL was throwing out more volume of punches during the first 5 rounds for sure, but who landed the more effective punches? That was BIVOL. Not in every single round from 1 through 5, but I think it was certainly enough to give him the edge in terms of a 7-5 decision. Now, in terms of evidence that BETERBIEV landed the more effective punches, I know we're not supposed to score damage, but look at both fighters' faces at the end of the fight. BETERBIEV had basically what I would call like abrasions, those sort of reddish marks that come from from BIVOL's glove kind of scraping on his skin. But he didn't have those deeper purple hematoma type marks that come from getting hit with hard punches. On the other hand, take a look at Dmitry BIVOL's left eye. I can guarantee you that as of today and over the course of the week, BIVOL's going to have a shiner. Left eye, and it may even spread to his right eye, simply because the blood pools to the lowest points on the face, which are your eye sockets. So, to me, that's, as I said, we're not supposed to score damage, but that is evidence that BETERBIEV landed, because he didn't just get that bruising on his left eye from BETERBIEV blowing air at his face. The second thing we could look at, but we don't have access to, is let's take a look at BETERBIEV's forearms, because I would say that a lot of BIVOL's punches landed on BETERBIEV's closed guard. This was a little bit of a change-up for BETERBIEV in terms of the guard he chose. I'm going to double back to this a little bit later. But I believe that a lot of Bivol's punches just landed obliquely on Beterbiev's forearms, or just, on his forearm, and then glanced onto his face a little bit. Now, of course, Bivol did land some hard shots as well, but the majority of his punches did not land on Beterbiev. Effectively. Keyword being there, effective. Now, another aspect as to why some people with an untrained eye might not think that Beterbiev's punches were effective is because he did not load up on his punches. He was very, very relaxed. That also has the advantage of not telegraphing his punches to Bivol. But that does not mean that they are not hard, powerful punches. In fact, a lot of the time when you can deliver a punch from a more relaxed sort of torso, relaxed arm, the punch is much harder. It just doesn't look like it's hard. Now, the third and final point with regards to scoring those opening rounds is, as I said, the commentators were just giving Bivol all this praise for, oh, beautiful boxing, he's moving around so beautifully. And it's like, true. However, you do not score points, or you're not supposed to score points based on moving around and avoiding punches and avoiding dishing out punches. Part of my concern in my pre-fight breakdown was the fact that Bivol tends to move straight in and straight out on a straight line. Now, he didn't do that in this fight, to his credit. Instead, he chose to move around laterally, not so much in a straight line, so to speak, but he would move either left or right and then circle around eventually to come back to center ring. So just because the commentators were giving Bivol all these props for his movement in the opening rounds, I mean, don't fall for the okie doke. That doesn't mean he should be awarded the round for his movement. Now, let's take a look at 3 adjustments that each fighter made from how I broke down their fighting style in my pre-fight breakdown. So first, take a look at Dmitry Bivol's double high guard. In my pre-fight breakdown, I pointed out the fact that he tends to use that traditional Eastern European guard. Well, he switched that up. Props to him for doing so, because having that European guard with his left jabbing arm out and up pointing at the sky would have left him open to lead left hook from Artur BETERBIEV. So I think it was wise for Dmitry to adopt that double high guard. However, here was the problem with him using that in this fight. While Dmitry kept the double high guard, after he threw out his jab, notice where he brought his left hand back too. Dmitry would bring that left hand back down towards his chest, or even below, like closer to his waist sometimes, instead of bringing it back straight back to the double high guard. Now, that kind of explains how he got nailed on his left side with those overhand rights or straight rights by Artur BETERBIEV, hence the hematoma on his left eye. So while I applaud Bivol for making that adjustment, I wish he and his camp had addressed the recovery position of that jab hand, right? You can't bring it back low. You got to bring it back up high if you're going to try to stick with that double high guard. So I'm confused as to why they did not address that in his camp. That's something that could have been drilled, certainly on the mitts, for sure, even on the heavy bag, and it could have been corrected during sparring. Now, the second adjustment that Bivol made that I think did work out was the fact that instead of, again, moving straight in and straight out and, say, trying to press Beterbiev straight back into the ropes, as Bivol did with Canelo, instead Beterbiev chose to move left-right instead of forward-backwards. Now, that did help him avoid becoming a stationary target for Beterbiev, but it also meant that he wouldn't be able to corner Beterbiev or press Beterbiev up against the ropes by driving Beterbiev straight back. So, I mean, I think that was sort of a wise decision on Team Bivol to use a different footwork strategy and sort of ring movement because I think it would have been, kind of a real mistake to just try to work forward backwards with Artur BETERBIEV, given what a hard puncher that BETERBIEV is. That would have been playing more into BETERBIEV's game. And in a sense, that would have given away Bivol's height and reach advantage. Now, the third adjustment that was made, that was really dramatic, and that I actually think made the difference in the outcome of this fight, was on the part of Artur BETERBIEV. And that was Artur BETERBIEV's footwork. I noted in my pre-fight breakdown that Artur BETERBIEV adopts basically a classic boxing stance, left foot in front of right foot, and he has live feet where he's moving on the balls of his feet. However, in this fight, Artur adopted what we call a walking stance. Now, there is a school of Eastern European fighters that use the walking stance, and it's a really interesting way to learn how to box. So I'm going to take a little detour here. I'm going to refer to Roman Karmazin, Roman Made in Hell Karmazin, former world champion, the junior, I think it was junior middleweight division. Now, I had the opportunity to not only watch Roman Karmazin live in a fight where he defeated Keith Holmes in Worcester, Massachusetts. Keith was attempting to make a comeback, and it was pretty clear that Roman was brought in as the B-side because I think he was already in his 30s at that time. And, he pulled the B-side upset for sure. Keith Holmes probably won the first half of the fight, but, in the second half, Roman just started to pick it up and wound up knocking Keith Holmes out, or stopping him at least. In any case, fast forward to when I was living in Los Angeles. I had the opportunity, along with other members of the Hayastan MMA team, we got the chance to work with Roman as he tried to impart some of his boxing knowledge with us. And one of the sort of key things Roman taught us was the walking stance. So it's completely opposite of sort of classic boxing stance. In a classic boxing stance, you tell your fighter, you step with your left foot, or your lead foot, right? You step with your left foot forward and you throw your left jab simultaneously. If you're going to go backwards, you would start with your right foot and then your left foot and still throw your punches as you land. But with this walking style of boxing, it's the opposite. So you literally walk as if you're walking, where your left foot forward, then your right foot all the way forward. And you throw punches with the opposite side. So you take a step with your right foot and you throw a left punch, and vice versa. So it's really confusing if you're used to sort of the classic boxing style. But I think it's pretty clear to me that at some point Artur BETERBIEV was taught this style and practiced it because he was able to use this stance, this walking style stance, seamlessly in this fight versus Bivol. Now, why did I say that was the key? Well, this walking stance allowed BETERBIEV to stay on top of Bivol and apply pressure to Bivol in a very relaxed manner. So, for those of you who actually spar, you could do this little experiment on your own. Get one of your sparring partners to try to be evasive and move around laterally all around the ring, and then try chasing him around in a classic stance where you always keep your lead foot forward. You can do the shuffle step, you can do a skip step, you can do even a step drag if you want to, but it is very tiring to try to follow somebody around and cut them off in a classic stance if they're just really speedy moving laterally. Now, on the other hand, if you can do the walking stance, you can just stay nice and loose and walk them down. You don't have to cut off the ring. Some folks are stating that Artur BETERBIEV did not cut off the ring, which he was supposed to against Bivol. So that's why they think he should have lost those rounds. Why use up more energy than you have to when it's not necessary? All Artur needed to do was use his walking stance walking to apply pressure to Bivol and force Bivol to keep moving and expend his energy, just trying to run around the ring a little bit. By Artur being that much more relaxed as he's moving around the ring, he throws his punches in a much more relaxed manner and expends less energy, and those punches are hard. Finally, if Artur were to try to attempt to cut off the ring on Dmitrii BIVOL, that would mean he has to be obliquely cutting angles to either his 10 o'clock or his 2 o'clock. And what that means is if he cuts to his 10 o'clock, Bivol is going to escape out to Bivol's left side. If Artur moves to his 2 o'clock, Bivol is going to cut out to Bivol's left side. So it is actually to BETERBIEV's advantage to basically just stay right in front of Bivol and just track him down, or force him to move and stay with him. I'm sure some of you guys remember Paul Malignaggi saying, don't hook with the hooker. So it's sort of the same principle here. Don't try to outmaneuver the guy who's maneuvering, right? Why would BETERBIEV try to beat Bivol at Bivol's game of moving around laterally? It doesn't make sense. So bottom line is, while I do think it was a close fight, I do think BETERBIEV deserved to win by a slim margin, but a win nevertheless. What were your favorite moments in BETERBIEV Bivol? Please share them in the comment section below. If you're enjoying our content and would like to have priority in terms of getting a reply from me, as well as early access to content, please do consider joining our membership for a mere $3 a month. If you enjoyed this post-fight breakdown, of course, you're always welcome to leave a super thanks or head over to buymeacoffee.com/Hamaguchi-fight and buy a coffee. Finally, do be sure to hit the subscribe and the notification bell so you know when our next video is posted. And as always, keep on the lookout for a spontaneous live. There may be one tonight or early tomorrow morning if I can catch the Tenshin Nasukawa fight on a stream somewhere. Thanks again for listening.